Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Today we have a special workshop organized by Eligent Club called How to Reach International Markets for a Tech Startup. We will speak about challenges in 2020, also how to consider that this challenging time as an opportunity to reach new markets and also to scale up your tech business. Today we have a 2-hour session with a special invited experts. They already joined us today and they're already in our live broadcast chat. So please prepare your questions and please prepare your topics you would like to cover. We will check your chats and in real time we will try to cover the questions you aim into to clarify the questions you wish to know more about. So thank you very much for joining one more time, and please let me share our social media details. On Instagram, on LinkedIn, on Facebook, we have a special WhatsApp group, and also in case you have any questions about our club community, any activities we run, you're welcome to email us or just simply reach us out from via any social media channels. Eligent Club is a community of tech entrepreneurs from the UK and also across Europe. So if you're building your tech startup or just aiming to build your tech company, welcome to our community, welcome to our network. And this event in particular is just one of events we run on regular basis for like-minded entrepreneurs who really keen to make some good progress and they're looking for right contacts, right connections. And we have all these amazing people coming to our live broadcast session right now. So before, let me just show very quick agenda. Today we will speak about the strategy of reaching international markets, operational side, how marketing, sales strategy, cash flow challenges, how to create your cash flow sustainable, and how to also bring your home reputation and credibility from your local markets to international markets. Also, we will speak about the investment. Challenging time maybe for investments, but we will speak about how to make your company investable and attractive for investment in 2020 for investors. So please feel free to ask questions in chats and please let's discuss what topics you wish to cover, and also Q&A session for sure, and also some other announcements about that. So before we start, let me introduce myself. My name is Slav Branovsky. I'm the founder of Eligent Club. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur in residence of Brunel University, London, international speaker, mentor at HALT Founders Lab. And you can find my social media connections on internet. You can check my website or you can go to LinkedIn. Also, this event is organized in partnership with HALT Founders Lab of HALT International Business School in London, and also in partnership with University Institute of Porto from Portugal. So thank you very much to our partners for helping us to organize this event. And please, again, if you want to ask any questions to our speakers and partners, please don't be shy and prepare your questions in chat. So we have a quite intense session today, and let's make it productive. So before we start, I really would like to invite our first special guest, Luca Cocciolati. Luca will introduce himself. So let me double check if Luca is around. So first of all, let me check if Luca is around. Luca, I think Luca is around already, and what I would like to ask Luca is to introduce yourself. Please tell a bit more about your activities. How do you engage with startups and anything you work in terms of entrepreneurial activities? And also, I have a special question to Luca Cocciolati. Let's start from strategy question. How to create your strategy for startup expansion, for international expansion of your tech business? Please, Luca, if you can hear me, welcome to join our session and welcome to introduce yourself.
amazing event. Yes, I'm Luca Cacciolatti. I'm a reader in marketing at University of Westminster. I'm also the director of the MSc Entrepreneurship, Innovation and Enterprise Development at Westminster Business School. And I'm also the managing director of Kipos, company that specializes in training and consulting. I really apologize. I have a little voice today because I caught a little bit of cold, and hope you can still hear me. Yes, there are different ways of reaching international markets. I would say that for startups that wanted to internationalize, there are different things they have to keep into consideration. One of which is, first of all, how they want to enter international markets and the level of commitment they want to put into that. Because what we have to say is that there's a continuum that is the level of commitment and inter-organizational coordination that is going to determine fundamentally the type of structure that you use to enter different markets. Then I would say, there are very low commitment forms of access to international markets like contractual modes or export, things like that. And on the other side of the continuum, we have very high commitment like joint ventures or when you have mergers and acquisitions, and even greenfield operations. So you have a kind of different options. I would say that if you look at different modes of entry of international markets, you could have contractual modes, different forms of maybe licensing or franchising, or different forms of contract manufacturing and coalitions. And on the other hand, you could have forms of investment where you really look at mergers, acquisitions, joint ventures, or other forms of collaboration.
Thank you very much, Luca, for your contribution. Thank you. It's amazing, amazing start, and thank you very much. Hope you're feeling okay. And please stay with us. And we will continue our discussion later on. So let's start from the beginning again, just about how to reach international markets. A few words about the strategy. So if we can take a look at the presentation, at our slides, let me some in. All right. So how to consider is the reaching new markets? Is it new opportunity or new risk? So every time you're trying to reach some international market, it also kind of the possible challenge to face new risk you probably didn't experience before. So in order to think about reaching the international market, I think it's very important to understand why do you want to reach a new market? What's the reason behind, and how it can help you to scale up your business? Is it the right time? And also, in order to scale up your business, what you can do is not only to reach new markets, but also you can launch new products maybe on the same market, and then that means you can scale up your business by having that possibility to promote new products. So that's an option to consider before actually entering a new market. Why it's good to launch new products if you already got some product exist on the market? Because it's easy to create a new product if you have something already. It's easy to reach new target groups because it's you got some already loyalty to your product, existing ones. And also it increase the brand awareness because you scale up the range of the products available for consumers. And also it's extra source of revenue. It's easy start to generate more cash. And also it's a bit more easy in expansion than reaching new market. But at the same time, you need to invest your time and capital into R&D stage, and also it may have the lack of new product demand, and at the same time you can have a risk of losing focus. And that, for sure, you may face new competitors in that new categories you have. So again, this is very interesting option, but please think and ask yourself, and maybe our attendees can also reply if you consider reaching new markets, and what's the reason, and actually which markets you're aiming to reach, any specific countries or maybe regions. Please feel free to share, because we can also contribute to that discussion and also help you to get some insights about reaching particular markets. But let me also highlight a few things about when to reach new market. Well, it's reasonable to go to new market when you reach the market share limit, when you realize that it's already very, you're kind of on the peak of demand on your market, and maybe there is no more opportunity to scale up your business on some local market. So you can go to other markets in order to get more exposure. Also, if you realize that some market is more attractive because it has less operational costs, so it's a good idea to go there. Maybe the marketing and sales process is a bit more easier or a bit cheaper. At the same time, expensive strategy and competition is aligned to the new markets. Maybe you want to your competitors going to new market, and you realize that in order to keep that competition balance, you need to come to the same market as well as some of your competitors. And also the levels of entry to new market may be a bit more easy to certain markets, so you realize again there are no too many challenges to go to certain markets. And now in 2020 it's quite easy, because now we realize that by using digital technologies and by reaching international markets online, you can get that leverage, and also maybe some less barriers in operation. So again, what is important to mention that in order to go to other markets, please make sure you established some market presence already, in order to get some resources, to get some expertise about your business, about your product and service, and also the target audience, what is really, really important. Definitely reaching new markets can bring high scalability, can increase also the brand awareness. It can give you the extra revenue and build a global market expertise, but also it can have it can bring you some challenges on the table due to the lack of market knowledge. It can demand high investment, or it can attract new competitors. Maybe some of the competitors, they even didn't know about your existence on some markets. But if you go to very competitive market, you need to be careful, because you can become visible for some big players. And also, again, you can have a risk of losing focus. So what is important here is just to make sure it's reasonable to go to international markets. And also, if you really intend to go, which ones? Why do you want to reach certain market? Why that particular market is a special one? And then the question, how to create that strategy. In order to, again, give you a bit more details from myself, before that, I would like to introduce our another special guest today, Adele Bota. So let me double check if Adele is online. Adele, good evening. If I can ask you to introduce yourself, thank you very much for joining us tonight, and also thank you very much for your contribution to our Eligent Club events. I have a special question to you, Adele. Again, how to create the step-by-step plan of creating international expansion. And also, one of the challenging questions is about finding the right market. So, so many markets across the globe. So, if you're aiming to reach a market, how to define that one, or maybe, not that one, some another market. So, how to evaluate and how to define the right market for you. So, Adele, if you can come, you're live now. So, please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Slav, and welcome everyone. It's always a pleasure to be part of the Elegant Club workshops. Yes, so this is a, let me introduce myself first. So my name is Adele, and I'm a healthcare IT consultant, as well as a business innovation coach and a mentor at Elegant Club. Now, this is a big strategic piece, and Luca has kind of really introduced us into the type of strategies that you can think about when you need to enter markets. And it's really important. And I want to emphasize what Luca said as well is it really depends on the stage that you're in as a startup. That's extremely important. How much investment and capital do you have available? How big and how credible is your team and your technology? And how credible are you currently in your market? These are very, very important considerations. Now, when you look at it from a strategic perspective, I always like to go back to sort of the business model side. And what's really important here is you need to think about, and I think the COVID crisis has kind of extrapolated this and put a lot of emphasis on how important this is go back to your business model. We know our business model, the front end is all about desirability of your product. And that's really important because that's where you know that your value proposition is an actual fact, delivering value to your customer segments, and there's a willingness to pay. So there's a desirability out there for your product. And then you have the feasibility, which is the back end, which is where you develop your technology, your key activities, your key resources. Now, as tech startups, we always tend to focus on the feasibility piece first and then think we can take our solution out into the market and people will just buy. So it's really important that we always focus.
We're just waiting a while Adel Bot is joining us, just a few minutes before we establish connection. So please stay with us, and Adel is joining us very shortly. So yes, we just wait for a few minutes before Adel can come live. And in the meantime, Adel, if we can wait for a moment before we bring you live, because it's still a few minutes to go. And in the meantime, again, we speak about the international strategy of expansion. So let me give you a few points about that. First of all, before you enter in any market, it's very important to create a market research. Which markets you're aiming to come, just to understand a bit more about your market research and how to basically to make this a new market expansion is to make research and planning, also to have a market validation test. So if you have an assumption that a particular market can be quite good for you, it's very important to make a test. While having the focus groups or first initial customers, or just a questionnaires or any research, and also you can make some kind of the trial promotions about your product and service on the market you're trying to come. So before actually making that very serious decision on reaching certain market, please make sure you did a market validation test. And in order to come to the new market, it's very important to build some new market infrastructure. And maybe you need to build a local team, some local campaign to get a bit more knowledge about the regulations, some specific of the markets on the level when you need maybe to understand also cross-cultural differences, any barriers you can face with. And so to be prepared. And when you got that understanding of market, then definitely if you actually started to operate on the market, what is important is to have expansion period, sort of the trial period, in order to understand that it's a right market to go. So please, as I said before, when you got the possibility to come to the market and you got some good traction, it's very important to make some tests. And before actually you come into expansion plan and maybe you come into the execution of expansion plan, please show your plan to mentor or advisor or anyone you know, or at least again feel free to leave your comments here, share your contact details, and we will pick that one with our mentors and experts, and we definitely will keep in touch. So again, if you got any question about how to reach international market, it's very important to do not rely just on one opinion. It's very good if you can show your plan to someone who already reached a certain market. So if you aiming to come to the UK market, for example, please find some experts from there. In order also to come to certain market, what is important is to understand your market not only on the level of the entry barriers or maybe the cross-cultural differences, but also on the tech side. If you speak about the tech business, new markets can bring some challenges, or in terms of you have to set up the new platform, a new solution, a new relevant tech environment for your customers. So, for example, if certain markets they using Android mainly, and if you have an iOS app, it's not going to be helpful for entering market. So please make sure you have this technology set up. Specific of target audience, maybe your target audience like certain way of engagement. Maybe they love some loyalty schemes, maybe some special discounts related to specific market holidays or specific market occasions due to the, again, cross-cultural differences. And at the same time, when you enter in the market, please know your competitors. Make sure you clearly understand who is doing what, who is successful player in the market. And if some companies try to reach certain markets before and they failed, it's very important to investigate and to evaluate why they actually failed. And maybe when you realize that situation, it can be a competitive advantage for you if you know why your competitors failed and how to make it work. So at the same time, what is sometimes missed, that the entering market should be big enough to make these efforts, and the entering market should be, very attractive in long run. So even maybe sometimes you realize it's quite easy to enter certain market, maybe because you know it very well. Please ask mentors or advisors or anyone you know who is successful in the market. How big is the market? How big is demand? And when I'm mentioning about the competitors, also please don't be scared by having competitors in the market. Actually, it's a good sign if you have a good players in the market. There is a competition exists. That means the money is there. That means you can make business on that market because there are some companies who are doing that already. And what I'm saying that it's not always that you should to be first. It's a question that you need to make something better just to become a bit more successful, more attractive for your target customers. That's the aim. And again, if you realize that you have many options, please make sure you find the right understanding of specific markets, especially due to the 2020 situation. Because as we face this time, that it's definitely a challenging time, and maybe certain markets they having less challenges regarding the economy, regarding the possibility to to consume and to buy some products or services. And what I also want to add, that sometimes we really believe in our startup and we really believe in our product and service. What sometimes we forget, that even we know that our product is really great product, it still means that we have to find the right message, find the right channel to our target audience. And also, if we believe that that's the right product for our target audience, it still doesn't mean that end consumers are going to buy it with no validation. So even we are strong believers in our startup, in our successful track record on our current market, it still doesn't mean that we can be successful on some new market with no validation. So one more time, please make sure you can make it work. So in the meantime, I'm just checking the questions, and please, thanks a lot for having discussions in chat. One more time, please ask questions in chat, because we will try to align our discussion during the conference to what you really want to know today. So how do you recommend structuring a legal tax corporate entities when operating internationally with multinational co-founders? it's very nice question. I believe our mentors and experts who joined us today can reply. It's very interesting question, and thank you very much that you asked that question. And depends also maybe which markets you aiming to operate. So it's not only about where your co-founder is based, but also which market you are planning to operate, at least at the early stage of your business. And I think this is the significant factor to consider in order to make that decision. Also, if you're aiming to attract investment for a tech company, some investors, they have quite strict policies or preferences regarding jurisdiction and presence of your company. So if you're aiming, let's say, to find a UK-based investor, for sure they would prefer probably a UK-based company. If you're trying to operate in German market and you look for a German investor, definitely it would help you a lot. And that's why please try to understand what's your journey, where you're aiming to go in long run. And if there are some strategical partners you aiming to get, also it can have a significant impact. On the level of co-founders, sometimes it's not so impactful, especially nowadays when we have a remote type of work. And yes, thanks a lot also to Key Stage Ventures for joining us, and thanks a lot for a contribution to our chat. If you are able to have more discussions, you are welcome to ask. So let me double check if we can speak to Adel one more time. Adel is live or not? Can we double check? We had the discussion about the strategy. Adel, thank you very much for waiting. You're finally live, and if we can, again, just make a quick overview of that discussion about strategy for entering international markets. Quite precise, but please, if you can repeat your message about creating a strategy for reaching the international market, please.
Sure. Thank you for having me, Slava, and welcome everyone. And it's always a pleasure to join Slava and the team on these live workshops. Yeah, so my name is Adele. I'm a healthcare IT consultant and business innovation coach, as well as one of the mentors at Eligent Club Accelerator Program. Now, Lucas summed it up really nicely when he explained to you what the different strategies are for entering a new market. And all I want to add on to that, because what he actually explained was give you and less investment and commitment, which is what Luca explained in terms of exporting, which can also be translated as e-commerce, right? Where you can translate and set a website and you kind of innovate in your channel. Now, what you really need to think about in terms of factors to choose any of those options that Luca shared with growth market, in the market, so the growth, the market opportunity itself, and then your potential returns in that. You also need to evaluate the amount of investment that you need to put in, whether it's on the top scale, if it's a greenfield or a merger and acquisition, you're going to need lots of investment for that. But you can play around with strategic alliances where you both kind of stay individual entities, but you can work and share resources and key activities. Then you also need to look at your risk and the ability of the control that you can keep, right? You don't want to give away too much control in a new international market because there's differences in cultures, there's different ways of working. So you want to have feet on the ground in these new markets, which kind of lead us to the fifth one, which is local networks, local partners. Always make sure that you have local partners available and a good solid local network, because you need to get to learn the language of this new market. So those would be my key sort of recommendations to add on to how to evaluate entering new markets. And then also in combination with that, you need to look at your competitive positioning. And that's really important because this is where you can get the opportunity to potentially innovate. If you really go in and see what competitors are in the market and how you can differentiate yourself from the competition so that you can bring that brand and that credibility that you've built in your current local market, and you can expand it into the new markets. You don't have to go in, you can actually go in already with a high-end product, right? You don't have to go in because you're going to pilot like you would do normally in the beginning, early stages of your startup in your local market. When you expand internationally, you have the ability to then choose high-end clients because you have a credible technology and you can deliver high quality value. So those would be sort of, in a short sum up, the reasons for the market entry and what to look out for.
Thank you very much, Adel, for your contribution about operations on the international markets, legal questions, questions with the supply chain, delivery, insurance, custom clearances. Please, I ask our experts and mentors to join our discussion, and thank you very much for all attendees for your questions. We pick them right during our live broadcast, so please, more than welcome to contribute. So we discussed about the strategy, and if you have the specific question, you're more than welcome to ask in chat. But the following topic, which is very aligned to what been asked before about a team with the co-founders with different nationality and different, maybe even presence. Maybe some co-founders, they're based in multiple countries. So what we would like to discuss now is how your international team. And I think it helps a lot to scale up your business internationally if you start building your tech team or startup team from co-founders from all across the globe. And there are some multiple successful case studies when startups, they operate remotely, they are online based, and they have a team for, I don't know, 100 plus people on board, and they operate across different markets. So it's really actually nice idea to build your international team. And my advice is to start from day one. So it's not about how to reach international markets and when you need to build your international team. If you build your international team from day one, you get so much expertise, knowledge, connections across the markets. Even you maybe just discuss your MVP, or you just still developing some basic thing. So again, the 2020 is it year of challenges or year of opportunities? So if you take a look at 2020, when most of us, we've been on the lockdown period, and it's still a bit challenging time in terms of traveling, some restrictions. We're able to operate online, we're able to connect online, we can build our team via multiple events, via multiple connections, multiple conferences like that one. So if some of you looking for a team member, we have a special section on our Eligent Club website in order to find a team member, or you feel free to share your contact details here, LinkedIn profile, any social media. If you want to join some startup, or you're looking for a co-founder across the globe. And we have, luckily, in our accelerator program for early stage startups, where co-founders, they met from Spain to London to some other countries. So if you aiming to enter some market, please find a nice person to work with from that market you want to go. And just a few points about building an international team. As I mentioned before, it gives you the wide network, it gives you the specific of cultural differences across markets and also nationalities, and it gives you access to international markets because you understand how to enter, you know the specific, maybe due to the meetings of your operational side, you come to the country, you meet people, you discuss, you run some maybe meetups, events and promotions across the markets, just because you got some co-founder from certain country. And one more time, you can find your startup team online, and maybe that's one of the significant outcome of that year, that some of the startups, they not stopping the operational side, and they recruit and they hire more team members across the countries, where you actually realize that there is no need to find someone around you. If you struggle to find the right one, you can find it somewhere else. So in order to discuss a bit more and maybe to get other opinion on that topic, I would like to introduce our special guest, another special guest, mentor of Eligent Accelerator program, Marka Poliafika. If you can double check if Marka is online already. Marka, if we can double check if you online. I would like to ask Marka to introduce himself and also to speak more about activities Marka runs for startups. And the question, what's your opinion how to create international team for international expansion, and when to start and how to make? Maybe you have your own advice and approach how to make it work. Marka, welcome to our live broadcast.
I assume you can hear me correctly. And good evening to all of your audience, wherever they are connected from. So just to introduce myself very briefly, I am one of the mentors at Eligent Club. And at the same time, my daily life, let's say my full-time job is in the clean tech space, where indeed I work in a global team and in a global company. And now to move on to your question, I would say that the team is a crucial element of our success. And this applies not only when we want to internationalize our startup. As a matter of fact, somebody says that building the right team is the most critical and important challenge for a founder of a startup. So that really is universally applicable. And in terms of how we can approach the internationalization, of course, the magic word I would say is a complementarity and diversity, I would say. Diversity is a word that we hear nowadays. It became very fashionable as well for ethical reasons. And there is plenty of research out there showing that a diverse team performs better. Now, let's look at the diversity, but let's look at the internationalization. Having people who understand the cultural differences, and Adele was mentioning them before, having people who know how to really interact with the local stakeholders, partners, or even customers in the regions and countries where we want to expand is definitely very, very important. I would say strategically critical. So definitely one way to get it right is from early stage aim to have diversity into your team, even with co-founders if that is possible, and make sure that you understand the culture, the social norms, the market, the demands of the different markets that you are targeting. And possibly, as always, focus is always good, in particular way for startups that have to really be careful about how to spend their resources.
Thank you very much, Marka, for your contribution to our discussion. Thank you very much for that insight about how you can build your international team. What I really want to mention, and thanks a lot, Glenn, for your question about UK entrepreneurs. Now we have interesting time due to the Brexit and the question to UK-based entrepreneurs. I believe our experts and mentors can reply about that situation and how to basically cope with that moment regarding the bringing company to the European Union side, or maybe stay in the UK. So some of our experts and mentors can reply. In the meantime, we have that discussion. So a few words about coming back to the discussion of the building international team. Also telling a few words about us, what we're trying to do in our Eligent Club. First of all, as I mentioned, it's a community of tech entrepreneurs in the UK and all across Europe. So everyone is welcome. If you're building your tech startup, please check out our website, visit some of our upcoming events. You're not going to be alone on your journey. And our aim is to build the bridges across international markets and help early stage startup founders to find relevant markets and also to find relevant contacts, experts and potential customers for sure. We're quite active. We headquartered in London, and we do multiple of activities such as workshops, breakfast with tech entrepreneurs, meetups, investment pitch days. So again, if you're looking for some connections, right contacts to build up and scale up your business beyond your local market, just welcome to come to our community. It's very nice place to come and a nice place to be part of. Also, we have a special 6 months program for early stage startups. Our program was created in 2019 and we created it online initially. So our accelerator program is online based program. And our program is focused on helping early stage companies to create international expansion strategy and track record, including finding investment for your tech business. So if you're looking for finding the right way to make your track record of your company and performance successful, welcome to come on our accelerator program. We run it twice a year. You can check out our link and see what's going on there. And we will have an investment pitch day very shortly, so please check out our social media and upcoming events. Again, if you'd like to make it together with us, join our community or join our accelerator program. And now our response to 2020, we run multiple events online, we do live broadcast sessions, we bring speakers and experts to our live sessions and live discussions. So if you want to contribute to our discussions, our workshops, feel free to leave your contact details, reach us out, and we will bring you live to the same session we have right now to discuss, to debate, to find the conclusions, and also to pick some challenging questions. So, and I would like to now focus on marketing and sales for international startups. I believe this is the very difficult question when you aiming to come to international market. There are so many challenges. How to reach new markets, how to sell your product and service. Is it possible to make it completely online, completely remotely? How to create that credibility and also reputation for some international markets when you maybe your company has no track record on certain markets. So how to make it, and what I would advise for that also regarding the marketing and sales process. First of all, please narrow down your niche market. So if you're aiming to operate internationally, maybe you can pick few countries first and say, okay, we're aiming to come to France, to Spain, to Portugal, to Finland, any country you like or find relevant for your business, instead of saying, oh, we operate all across the globe, because that means you probably don't have very niche focus. And in order to make marketing and sales process successful, for sure, you might need to find some local representatives. You need to build trust and credibility for every single market you go. And also, you need to come from niche to global. So if you have very certain market successful track record, then you can go to global. Global track record. And in order to again go global, please make sure you're able to sell your product or service locally first, and then you can go to that. Before that, I also would like to invite our special experts today, the Christine Fallow, and also Christine, she's from Germany. And in order to bring Christine, I have a special question to Christine. How, Christine, you think about it's possible to bring the reputation from somewhere across the globe, or maybe from some local markets, how you can bring the reputation and trust to some new market. And I think it's very important factor for negotiation when you're talking to potential customers on the market you don't know very well, what you can do with that and how you can make it work when you just enter a new market. Basically, how to keep that trust and credibility when you're talking to your potential customers on some new market. Christine, welcome to our live broadcast, if you can join us.
Yeah, hi Slava, thank you for having me here in this exciting show. My name is Christine Fallow and I'm a former
So we don't have the Christine the sound, so we can
Bayersdorf or Henkel or Willebrand Boch. And I've seen so many companies coming to procurement, and I can tell everybody exactly what's good and important to have as documents there and how to prepare very well for that. And that's actually what I'm doing right now. I'm using this knowledge from the procurement department for coaching and training startups and telling them what procurement is all about. There's this horror story, like they are mean and they are always like cheap, cheap, cheap. But actually, they can be your friend as well. So it's very important to know insights about procurement. What do they expect? That's what I tell everybody, and how to prepare as good as it gets to get the deal.
Christine, thank you very much for your contribution to our discussion. It was Christine Fellow from Germany. And please, again, feel free to ask questions about procurement, about negotiations, about how to make a deal with your potential customers and how to build that trust. If you have any questions or if you had any issues with that before, please share your stories or share your comments. We will pick that to our live broadcast. And now I would like to speak about the major factor in success of your sales process. Basically, cash is a key. So in order to make international expansion, in order to make your reaching new markets process successful, you need to have a sustainable cash flow. So I know whom to ask that question about how to make your cash flow sustainable and how to make sure you're able to generate some cash on new markets. I have a special expert who already online with us, Matt Black. If Matt Black can join us tonight, and if Matt Black, you can introduce yourself. And I would like to pick the question about cash flow, how to make your cash flow sustainable, especially when you enter in international markets, how to make it work, and how to generate basically cash. While we're waiting for Matt, we're just a few minutes away, yes, and I guess Matt is already joining us. Matt, good evening. Let's speak about the key of startup life, cash, how to make your cash flow successful and sustainable. Matt Black, you live.
Okay, so introduce myself, Matt Black. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I'm on my 10th startup. I'm also an investor, 60 plus companies. So I've been on both sides of the equation. Cash flow is absolutely critical to businesses, as you know, Slava. It's funny because it's not just cash flow in terms of inflows and outflows, but it's the net that you might make. And that's really, really important. A lot of people, especially in this tech space, they think, oh, it's okay not to make a profit as long as we're doing lots of transactions. Well, don't lose sight of the fact that investors are looking for profitability. It's still a really, really great place to be because you can actually use a lot of tricks. You talk to your CFO about how they can do it and leverage a cash flow to be able to project forward and get funding and project forward and manage expansion internationally. Is that good?
Yes, totally. But at the same time, regarding the sales process, what would you advise to make it remotely, to hire some local person, sales manager? How to make these first steps? I think it's very challenging for every single startup, especially in 2020. So what would you advise about making your sales on the market you don't know very well? Hiring the local person, or maybe trying to make it online using digital marketing and all these tricks?
Sure, I totally get it. We're in a really, really great time for companies that want to expand. The key here is that there is literally millions and millions of people out of work. People that you couldn't get before to work in your startup might be available today. People that you couldn't reach before, you can reach today. Especially if you've got a business that is smart enough or equipped to go online. And there is a few businesses that will be excluded, but predominantly, the first world countries are mostly service-based industries anyway. We're mostly logical products anyway. So I think that generally the first world countries will excel during a time of COVID and a time where we can reach a much, much larger population, because so many people are just sitting at home, watching their computers, playing on the internet. So it's a really, really great time. So you've got this real big tsunami of people that need things. You saw Amazon sales shoot through the roof when the first lockdown occurred in the UK. And you'll see the same again. I mean, UK, I can't speak for anybody else, but we're going into a second lockdown potentially. And there's a lot of other countries that are experiencing the same. And COVID, I don't think, is ever going to go away. So if you can adapt your business model to meet this new normal, you can go to market. But to specifically address your concern about how do we get into markets we don't necessarily know a lot, well, as a strategist, I've always worked on the premise that if you speak to human beings, if you speak to core needs, it's not about localization in many. I mean, there's things you need to do, naming, multilingual, there's cultural morales and things like that. But generally, you reach 99% of people effectively if you speak to their need. That's the core of it. And that's the core of really, really great marketing. So it's probably not as hard as you think. And to be honest, there's lots and lots of experts out there. You could pay them a one-off fee, get your localization done, and then just go to a pure same old, go to market, online marketing process, bish, bash, bosh, you're away. I think that'll probably answer the questions of 90% of people trying to go to market.
Completely agree with you, Matt. And as I said, that's and thanks a lot for that mentioning that still 2020 is the amazing challenges, but also amazing the year of opportunities, how to use that moment. And I think that's the key for success of digital tech startups today and in the future. So thanks a lot for your contribution. Please stay with us. I see some questions coming in our chat, and pleasure to have you as always. It was Matt Black with his contribution about cash and sustainability of cash flow. So I think also what is important to mention regarding the possibility to generate a sustainable cash flow on new market, when you probably unknown company, when you enter in some new market, and it's challenging to convince potential customers to use your product or service because they simply don't know you, and maybe if you don't know the famous brand yet and so on. What you can do, please have that question contribute to our chat, but have some answer to you. In order to rise up your credibility and trust to your company, the question, how people can trust you as a startup founder first. And I think this is the key. If you can have your reputation on board, if you can use your personal brand and the power of your personal trust and credibility to your company and service, that's how you can leverage the trust to your company. So when you enter in new market, you can rely on the track record of you as entrepreneur. Maybe someone can recommend you because it's your co-founder already based on that market you're trying to enter, and maybe your co-founder can start recommending you to some business partners, new people. So I think what is important here is to do not forget about the importance of your personal brand and your personal credibility in order to reach international markets. So now we have also the questions about the investments, and I think in order to make that discussion, I think we have maybe a few questions, and please feel free to comment in our chat if some of your projects looking for investment, if our attendees of our event are looking for some access to capital in certain markets. If you have that need, please share your story or please share your discussion about that. We are happy to advise how to attract capital in certain markets. But what we need to know when you aim into get an access to capital in order to reach international markets, you need to find a relevant investor. Because what is important here is to get the same mentality and also to align with the strategy of certain investor in order how would it look if investor interested maybe also to enter certain markets because they can invest into your company and they can come to that market a region together with you as a startup. Maybe some investors based in certain countries. So again, if you're looking to come to certain country like Sweden, then maybe it makes sense to find some Swedish investors or some connections across investments and network in Sweden in order to get that access to capital. If you're trying to reach American market, it's probably low chances to find someone based in I don't know, in Hungary or somewhere in other country if investor completely don't have that approach or maybe direction to go. So please make sure again the portfolio of previous companies or previous investments of investor is aligned to the market you're aiming to go, and it would help you a lot, I believe. But please feel free to ask the question, or please feel free to ask your challenge or to come into our discussion. And investor for international expansion in 2020. Now it's very interesting actually, because what I hear from VC funds and serial investors and angels, they actually really like the concept of attending online pitching sessions and also making investment deals online. They realize they don't have to spend money on traveling, they don't have to book accommodation in order to come to certain countries and meet and shake hands with the startup founders. So now all they can do online, and they love it. So now the 2020 broke that moment when it was compulsory to go and meet someone in person. Now we can meet online, and today we have investors across our special invited guests. So please, if you have that if you have these needs, feel free to share your comments, and we will pass your details to our team and our special invited guests. So what I also need to reference, what I'm hearing from investors and what I'm hearing from VC funds and angels, there are always money available for good quality projects and startups. So if you think that it's difficult to fundraise, it's actually the no, because it's not question and how much money available in the markets. It's question of quality of startups. And unfortunately, maybe sometimes the quality of startup is not good enough, and that's the reason why investors don't put money into some companies. And what we discussed before, what is the key here is sustainability of your track record, cash flow, very good figures about sales, about marketing. Yes, it's very good to have track record about a user base, how many potential customers or leads you have. But what is important is just to remember how much is how sustainable is your cash flow. So please check it out. And I believe if you have that ready to show to investor, it's going to be good. And also, what gives the opportunity? There are so many challenges exist on the market now in medtech, in education sector, in sustainability, in fintech. A lot of companies can make so much disruption exist on the market, how to operate remotely, how to avoid some traveling needs, how to make it all happen. So if your startup particularly solve the problem in ad sector and med, in any sectors related to challenges about the traveling, you will be super successful. So again, please join online events, online investment pitches and sessions, and please more than welcome to focus on sustainability of your cash flow and your trajectory of your track record of your company, and you will be successful for investments. And we have special guest tonight, investor and a special guest, Emilia from the UK, and she's a mentor of Eligent Accelerator program. Now I have a special question to Emilia, first of all, for sure, to introduce yourself, but also how to attract investment for international expansion in 2020, and what to focus on in order to become attractive startup, to be an investable startup in 2020. Emilia, welcome to our live broadcast session. Thank you very much for joining. Please introduce yourself, and if you have some thoughts about for a tech startup in 2020.
Taser, and I'm a VC investor at Future Flow Group. We invest in tech startups with quite a broad remit. So I've led on investments in marketing tech, fintech, and with a big focus also on digital consumer products as well as some SaaS businesses. So when I'm thinking about international expansion, I'm thinking already kind of a more advanced business. So at that point, the key points that I would be looking for as an investor would be to hit growth, to hit a stable, steady growth. So the key point there is basically have a target in mind. So ideally, we're measuring this off of revenues, and if not revenues, then off of your user base. The key point here is have a target and hit it consistently. So if you're hitting a 1% growth every week, that will give you 1.7x in a year, which is great. But imagine if you're hitting 5% every week, you're talking now 12x in a year. Now you're talking great for an investor for looking for international expansion. The key point is have a target, hit it. Second point is managing your churn. So the churn is completely in the hands of the founder. So why would people be churning away from the product? You're not satisfying their exact needs. I'm sure the other guys have talked a lot about this, but as an investor, it's important to see how your product is solving a need in the market. That tells me a lot about the product market fit and gives me confidence that this is something that also can scale. Now, in terms of international expansion, we'll talk about it later as well, but you need to have a reason why you're going there and an underlying purpose. But just from a churn perspective, as an investor, from a financial standpoint, I can see, that you are meeting a demand on a gross just revenue churn. So you can have a churn scenario where you have, especially in the early stages of expansion, sell the ones that you keep, you're going to have a good revenue churn. And that's what I want to see as an investor. Thirdly, I want to see a path to profitability. Have something that makes sense as you're scaling. So if at weak margins, all you're going to do is multiply those weak margins. So I want to see healthy margins that enable you to expand. So if I just wrap that up all in one, then we're talking about growth, churn, and a path to profitability.
Thank you very much, Emilia. A clarification, we have interest and we have some discussions about investment, and we had a question previously, how to discuss with investors about that alignment with the direction to go in terms of that startup aiming to reach certain markets. So how would you advise to approach investor and have that dialogue? Is it kind of normal to ask investors also the question, what's investment direction? What's your investment preference? Which markets you aiming to reach as investor, or maybe sectors to reach? How to structure that dialogue and also to make it in the right way if you just making these first steps of your relationship between startup and investor?
To help you in the long run. So what I want to close this within a month. imagine building a personal relationship. Take me on a story, make me understand why this is a problem and why you're the right person to solve it and why this is your new key market. So back it up with research, understand your investors, and understand the market you want to go into. Form bonds in those markets. So establish relationship with stakeholders, suppliers that can be there. That gives me confidence that you're able to manage this expansion.
Right, Emilia, thank you very much for giving that feedback from real investor, and thank you very much for joining our sessions. We have more questions to you actually about how does the healthy margin looks like for you from an investment perspective. If you can reply in chat to that question, because we're moving on and we have to follow our timeline, but please stay with us, and thank you very much for your contribution. We have the multiple questions about investment in our YouTube chats. Thank you very much for staying with us. Pleasure.
Definitely. Thank you so much, Slava, and thanks to Eligent Club. I'm happy to connect with people through Eligent. I'm a mentor there. Also, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn, and I'll try to get to some of these questions in the chat. Thanks so much again, Slava and Eligent.
Thank you very much, Emilia. And as we discussed now that, it's all possible. We have, all these possibilities to attract investment. It's not about where we are based, actually. It's about how do you align with certain investor? Do you understand the expectations? Do you follow, again, the specific of the market? Do you follow the cross-cultural differences? Do you find that right approach of building relationship together? I have approach from one investor, basically his approach about being able to make a barbecue on the backyard together. If you come to that level of trust, he is able to invest into your company. So if he is comfortable to invite you to his house, that's the moment he makes a decision. So I think, again, we're coming back to the building relationship and trust, and that's something definitely comes with consistency. When you are meeting people on regular basis, you having the follow-up calls, the meetups, you just building that, track record of your engagement. So please, Emilia can make own feedback on that, but I believe please don't be frustrated if you got a reject from investor from first try. I'm not saying to desperate every single day, but you can keep in touch, you can show your track record, and if you truly believe that your product is very promising on the market, you can have a very good track record, please convince investor with figures, please convince them with track record of your company. And it's not about how amazing your pitch deck, it's not about how amazing you're able to speak and deliver your pitch deck, it's about how you can make a proof on a paper with the cash flow, with the all these KPIs and indicators about your company performance. And this is exactly what we do in our accelerator program, because our program is actually it's quite long. It's 6 months program for early stage companies. But the reason it's quite long, because we want to build a sustainable track record of company performance in order to give a proof to investors. So our graduates, our startup fellows who came through our accelerator program, they basically getting much more confidence to talk to investors because they have proof of their KPI and track record. So that's exactly what we're trying to do. And please feel free again just to ask more questions. We have the session now to again just to exchange the topics, the questions we have. If you have any concerns about reaching international markets, that's the topic of today. And now I would like to have one more session with Adele Bote, if we can double check she's available online. For sure, we did an overview about the expansion, about the marketing, market research, and also investment possibilities. But still, at the same time, the question how to, there are some other opinions that, and also in chat, maybe we had some discussions in this challenging time, do we have to focus on building relationships across our neighborhoods, local investors, local partners, local clients, or again, it's an opportunity to come and go abroad to find some opportunities across international markets? So my question also, how to do not lose the focus and make sure, again, you are not distracted by doing multiple things in the same time, but how to follow? Is it about the building closer relationship with someone you already know, or trying to use that time for opportunities? So if you can check if Adel is online with us. So Adel, I have that question for you. If you can please reply. So Adel, if you can double check the connection. So yes, Adel, thank you very much for joining one more time. So my question, and we had few mentioned opinions before, that maybe 2020 is the time to focus on your local connections, local partners, to find some local investors in order to move on with your business and company, or it's amazing time to go abroad and find some opportunities beyond your local markets. So how to do not lose the focus and make sure, again, you are not trying to do everything in the same time, but is it time to go or stay at home and localize your business?
Sure. Thank you for that question, Slava. It's an interesting question because it's like one of my business school professors always used to say, these type of questions you answer with, it depends, right? But what you really have here is a choice. One of the things that we have to remember as startups is you always have to keep focus on your local market. You never should let go there when you start looking at your growth strategy expanding internationally. The reason for that is a lot of startups will start having inbound requests as they build credibility. And that can sometimes be a distraction because you'll have different requests coming through saying, oh, we would like this, we would like that. You have to make sure that you stay aligned with your product roadmap. Do not get distracted with that. Do take it on board. If you get a lot of those, it might mean that you have to pivot, right? But in general, just make sure when you get those inbound requests coming through, to not get too much distracted. Because, and I can use an analogy, it's like an Olympic athlete, right? When you start training, you're going to be training and you specialize in a specific event. And this is exactly the same thing that you have to do as a tech startup, is really get specialists, train your muscles in your local market, because this is where you build your traction and you get more customer insights and more customer insights. You're not going to just get distracted and start training for a long distance event if you're a sprinter, right? So keep the focus, but then also start looking at identifying those markets that has got synergies with your product. Because really in the beginning of your planning phase, when you build your startup, you really need to take this into consideration. What is the scalability of your technology over time? So that's really important to remember, is to keep the focus, but then also to look at the global trends. And this is where the adaptability of your business model comes in, especially now with COVID times and crisis. We can see there's significant disruption in the political environment, the economical environment, social, cultural, legislation. So keep abroad on what's happening at that high global level, because trends is going to either bring you threats or it's going to bring you opportunities. And they're exactly the same thing. The only difference is your mindset, because you can take those threats and you can turn them into opportunities. And you can do that through strategic tools, for instance, like the pestle analysis, where you can go in and identify and rank these threats and go, oh, wow, we can actually enter a market and we can differentiate ourselves from the competition because we're taking those threats and we're using them against our competitors, and we're making and turning them into opportunities.
Thank you very much, Adel, for getting that insight. I think it's very important, as we discussed here, is to keep the focus, but also make it step by step, and also to just kind of look for opportunities, not being in a rush, but at the same time just kind of to see beyond your local presence and local market in order to see where else you can be more successful. Even there are some, as we see then, some imbalance between the challenging in economy, in some tensions about the measures, about these 2020 updates of the regulations as well. So we need to keep an eye on, and maybe we can realize that actually, you have the product ready, you have everything in order to operate somewhere else. Why not? So at the same time, just to keep that also the impact, and also the impact and support of local economy and support of local communities and maybe local customers. So please, for sure, don't forget about that. Adel, thank you very much for staying with us, and thank you very much for your contribution. Pleasure to discuss as always, and thank you very much one more time.
Thank you, Slava, for having me.
We are moving on, and I still have some challenging questions to be discussed, because what we have here is the discussion about 2020 is the year for opportunity, or it's a year for just to be peaceful and calm, and maybe to do something and not too risky in order to make this a year. So I have that question to Marka Poliafika. So Marka, if you can join our discussion, and I have a kind of tricky question for you. Question about keeping balance, also about the risk, and you are observed the both sides of the life. You've been in the corporate world, and you also observed the entrepreneurial world. So my question, what would you advise? Is it year for being safe and maybe stay in big organization, get your salary managed, and have your personal sustainable cash flow? Or is it time to be risky and time to make that jump into uncertainty and make that smart move from maybe thousands and thousands of people thinking it's not the right time, and make that jump in order to make some boost in your entrepreneurial journey, and also boost in your company performance? What would you advise?
Thanks, Slava, for the question. However, I should say, you said before you have challenging questions, not impossible questions. I think this is a really, really an impossible one. I think it's a personal choice whether we feel more comfortable in the corporate life or whether we want to take the risk. However, one thing that I would like to highlight is that we always talk about opportunities versus risk. As a matter of fact, strategies and choices and business bring both of them on board. So you will always have both opportunities and risk. I think from the very, very, very insightful and comprehensive contribution from all of our colleagues, mentors here before, we highlighted a quite wide range of elements that we should look at if and when we want to internationalize, or even when we want to organize a business, basically. So I think that approaching the risk, it should be a matter of how can we mitigate the risk? How can we focus on building a successful story? And here, in both through the contributions and through the questions that we had on the chat, and thanks very much to all of your audience who actually has been writing, asking questions. It's a matter of really what should we think about to mitigate the risk. We cannot live in a world with zero risk. COVID is really a very good lesson for that. But more in general, when we want to talk about entrepreneurship, we should plan in advance. We should look at all the different elements that can affect our strategy. And then we have to focus on execution. I'm sure that all of us, not only myself, we see very often our mentees, and they plan. But then if there is not the execution, it's true that there is not risk, but there will not be the opportunity. So I'm afraid I will admit very humbly that I don't know how to answer your question on whether this is the right time to leave the corporate job and to go into a startup, into a business. I think this is an answer that I will leave to each of any of our of the people of our wonderful audience. But definitely, it is true that every great disruption, like COVID, for example, entails some opportunities. And we saw as well when it comes to digitalization and internationalization, when it comes to opening new opportunities. I mean, I think I'm not the only one who heard about the success of Amazon during these months. So there are business models that are thriving in this situation, and there are others that are adapting to this new world. So I would say, more than thinking in terms of opportunities versus risk, I think it's time to think of what do I want? And once we make our to really give it 100%, having the grit and perseverance, and make it a success by planning, and then executing. I hope that partially answers your impossible question.
Let's hope. I don't think it's impossible, but thank you very much for getting, advice and also that opinion. And for sure, it's tricky to answer. And I'm very pleased here to see that we have a few startups in creative sector. And what I think, and I have a special experts to join our following discussion, that I think that creativity is the key to come through the challenging time, maybe the crisis time, and also creativity helps a lot to find the right approach to reach target audience, to reach your target customers across the markets, and also to find some creative idea for promoting, for driving, for scaling up your business. And thank you very much to our attendees for having that discussion. And as I said, I'm very pleased to have some startups from creative space. So now, if you don't mind, I would like to invite Luca Cacciolati, our opening speaker and our keynote speaker today, who did that amazing opening start. So if I can ask you, Luca, about the role of creativity in innovation and also possibility to come through this challenging time as entrepreneur, and maybe to use their creativity to find that solution in order to make that opportunity on the market for a tech business. So let's wait while Luca is available. Let's double check our connection and what we discuss here, how to use the creativity in order to drive your company forward, and also to keep your emotional level on the optimistic way, because we have challenging times this year, but we still need to be positive and also to find the right approach. So we're just waiting for Luca to join us. And Luca is ready. Luca, thank you very much for staying with us during all these sessions. I already asked that question, so if you don't mind, just tell us your opinion.
Yes, absolutely. For your question is very, very important, but it is underpinning force to being innovative is critical, especially in action, as Marco said. Now, what we have to say is part of the entrepreneur, and we really need to consider to what we can use our creativity given all the that there are in such a case. We unfortunately do not have any experience of this type, to the beginning of 1900. So it becomes really, really important to, and we have to consider something that's creativity is critical if you go to a different market in a different country. Of course, everyone is waiting for you. We open up, tell you, yes, come and sell our products, big competition for our companies. So absolutely tough to enter, especially if it is a foreign market. So you need to local culture, local customs. There are a lot of nuances, political setup, economic setup, and the business practices. It is really difficult. If I may add something that is critical, I think, when you try to enter a foreign market, but also in case you consider perhaps a foreign market is not maybe you haven't saturated your it is the importance of understanding who your is, because what I see is that a lot of companies do not really customers are, or they got a very vague idea, but they understand what market segments are most profitable, what market segments they should target. It becomes really difficult to position your product or service in a market that you understand.
Right. Thank you very much, Luca. It was Luca Cacciolati from the UK, London, for joining our session and also opening and closing our session. Today we discuss about reaching international markets for tech startup. Please feel free to ask any more questions. I really want to ask all of our partners of the events, HALT Founders Lab Incubator Program at HALT International Business School, London, and also IceCap organization from Institute of Porto from Portugal. And thank you very much for your support, and for sure thank you very much to all our invited guests and experts. So if you have time, in case you got any questions about reaching international markets, you are more than welcome to ask the questions. Feel free to share your contact details. We will check it out, and we also will reply directly to your connections. You always can check out our website eligent.club for more updates and more upcoming events. And in case you have any questions, if you can get the slides, you can always email us info@eligent.club. So just to remind, this event is online, a live broadcast event organized by Eligent Club. We have regular events live where we connect people from all across Europe. We have experts and mentors joining us from multiple countries, and probably it's a first step for you to reach international market is to get someone from the market you're aiming to come. So thank you very much one more time for joining us. Thank you very much our experts. In case you got any extra questions, feel free to add your comments, or feel free to ask the questions. So just to remind, I'm Slava Baranovsky. I'm the founder of Eligent Club, community of tech entrepreneurs from the UK and all across Europe. We build a community of like-minded entrepreneurs aiming to help each other to build, the track records of companies, to help them to reach international markets, to build a strategy, to find relevant connections across the boards, and also to find that right way to build a successful track record of your company. So yes, thank you very much for having with us. And basically, again, what we discussed today, that this year of 2020 is not only challenging year, it's a year of taking the opportunities. And what we can do is basically to build the leverage across our activities online. We can connect, we can pitch to investors online, and as Emilia mentioned, you are more than welcome to connect and also to follow up with your further questions and anything you want to clarify. And you always can connect myself on LinkedIn. My name is Slava Baranovsky, and you are more than welcome to chat directly and ask for your contribution. So again, just one more time, thank you very much. We watched a workshop called How to Reach International Markets for a Tech Startup. We would keep our chat open in case you get extra questions. And we are leaving for now. And next week on Thursday, we have a special event at speed dating events to meet investor and mentor for a tech startup. So if you like to take a look, please check out our Eventbrite page. Next week, Thursday, 6 p.m. London time, we have online event, speed dating event to meet your mentor or investor for a tech startup. It's going to be a nice networking across European countries. Welcome to join us. If you'd like to pitch your startup idea, if you'd like to meet up with your mentor or possible advisor, welcome to book a ticket. It's a free ticket to join our networking event next week, Thursday, 6 p.m. London time. That's it for now. As we mentioned, I'm opening chats open, so it's still alive. Thank you very much for joining. See you next week. Pleasure to have you as always. Stay tuned.